Hello, everyone. Welcome to I'm Bringing Healthy Back. I'm Rachel, and today we're talking about how binge eating disorder, is not simply a lack of self control or self discipline. So, just a disclaimer, real quick, this video is not advocating for eating disorders. And if you are someone who is struggling or wants more information on eating disorders, I'll leave a few resources down below in the show notes or the description, wherever you're listening, podcast or YouTube. And please take care while listening. So, eating disorders, yes, but binge eating disorders is not a lack of self discipline. It is a lot deeper than that. So, I looked up why, like what causes binge eating, and they don't know. Like the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, like they're not sure why people struggle with binge eating. They do say it could be genetic, which I have my doubts about, but it could be genetic, could be wrong. Could be how your body works. I'm not sure where they were going with that. It could be a result of long-term dieting. Other causes could be related to the presence of other mental health conditions. It could be a learned habit. But going back to what binge eating looks like, especially from an outsider, it may seem simply like a lack of self-discipline, or from someone looking in who doesn't have any experience or exposure to addictions, it may seem like a lack of self-control or lack of self-discipline. And I personally, I'm not an expert, but I personally consider binge eating to be an addiction. And I say that as someone who, if you are new here, I struggled with binge eating. I struggled with very restrictive eating, and then I struggled with binge eating for many, many, many years. So I'm not just saying that as someone out here who's never struggled with an eating disorder or disordered eating. I should do some more research on like what addiction is. Maybe I'll do a podcast episode on that, and how it could be related to like food addiction, sugar addiction. But binge eating can be used as a way to cope, to escape. It could be a release for some people from pressure, external or internal pressures. But even to you, if you're struggling with binge eating, even to you, like it did for me, it felt like I just lacked self-control. And it's kind of like you beat yourself up every time you binge. Why can't I just stop? Oftentimes, binging happens as a result of a trigger or as a result of a habit. So some triggers are, well, what website was I on? I'll leave my sources linked down below, but eating can release pleasure hormones. So it can bring you temporary happiness. And we usually find this when we eat like chocolate, or we're eating with people, like we're with family, we're with friends, we're with loved ones. And so like it's supposed to be happy. It's a community thing. Eating can bring you temporary happiness. It releases happy chemicals in your brain. And that can be great, except when we are abusing food to get that hit almost. So going back to stressors, are we escaping an unpleasant or unhappy and a stressful situation? Are we wanting to numb? Are we wanting to compensate for unmet needs? So stressors, depression, dieting, poor body image may all lead to binge eating. Our brain is such a powerful thing, and now I'm no neurologist, but our brain can build and break synapses, pathways between which signals and messages are move. And some people may seem to have a stronger mind and be able to control themselves better, have more self-discipline. And just because that's not you now doesn't mean that can't be you in the future. And this is not me saying that you just need to build more synapses. This is me saying But I have a theory that what we expose ourselves to, the media that we consume, that we expose ourselves to, how we eat, how we sleep, how we move, can maybe affect how we think and how our brain is and what our brain tells us, what we tell ourselves. And so maybe we need to remold our brains to be healthier. Maybe we do. Going back to the foundation of this episode, that binge eating is not simply a lack of self-control or self-discipline. It's deeper, more complex than that. We have triggers, we have stressors, and everyone has different ones, different stressors, different triggers, and each of us have different ways of coping with that. For some reason, I keep thinking of alcohol. I'm not saying people have to be addicted to alcohol to use, like people who use alcohol to de-stress are addicted to it. That's not what I'm saying. But I think of that, like some people, they come home after a long day and they just want to sit down with a bottle of beer or a glass of wine. And maybe food is that for some people. It can be it's our response, it can be a release, and eventually it kind of becomes a habit. Now, thinking back to my season of struggle with binge eating, it became a habit. Like I noticed, like habitually, I would come home after work, and even if I wasn't hungry, like that was time to eat. And that's not a binge. But like in the evenings, it was almost like a habit, like, okay, it's going into evening time, like I'm going to binge, like, and it was, that seems in and of itself seems like, oh, you just lack self-control, you couldn't just not eat. But it's compounded. It's not just, oh, it became a habit. There's so many more layers to it than just that. So whether it's an evening routine that you need to redo, whether it's you need to figure out how to deal with your stressors in a healthier way, in a new way, whether you need to completely redesign your lifestyle. So I think of how you eat, how you sleep, how you move. That may completely like do a 360, 180, that would do a 180 of your lifestyle. But before you can start mitigating, finding healthier responses to our triggers, your first step is understanding why you binge eat. You can't do anything until you understand why you binge eat. At that point, you're just throwing darts into the darkness. You have to understand why you're binge eating, and that can take a lot of time, and it may not be one single thing. We need to know our worth too. It's very easy if you're struggling with disordered eating to knock yourself down, to like criticize yourself so severely. But that's not helpful. We know that's not helpful. You know that's not helpful. It doesn't help the next day. It doesn't stop the next binge. I'll leave my episode, I think I just have one episode on reasons why you may binge eat down below for you guys to check out. And that may not be exactly your answer. You may not be able to figure out on your own. I didn't do therapy, but maybe therapy is something that would be a good tool for you if you're struggling with binge eating, or just talking to a healthcare professional or someone you trust who will be judgment free. But a healthcare professional might be good to help guide you in the right direction if you want to do that. But again, I'll leave some resources down below, some websites, and one is a hotline that you can call. It's important for you guys to heal and not stay in this season if you are struggling any longer than you need to. So, all that to say, binge eating is not lack of self-control or lack of self-discipline. There's probably several reasons as to why someone binge eats. And if you know someone who binge eats, or you find out that someone in your life struggles with binge eating, don't judge them, because they're struggling with the battle inside themselves already. So just be there for them if that is you. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.